Welcome back to my channel, sports fans. Okay, let's get into this one right here. LeBron James fans in the Lemedia destroyed the NBA by comparing eras. That's what we're going to talk about this in this video. And let's kind of start in 2018 when LeBron James got destroyed and swept in the NBA Finals. This is when this all started, right? They didn't know where to go with this. They didn't know how to promote this guy after this. They didn't know what to do. So they really started comparing eras and tearing down past eras. This is where this started. But first, let me say, we can always say there's been some type of GOAT debate. Now, on this level, the past, 20-something years, not 20-something years, we'll say about maybe since Kobe won his back-to-back championship, it was a GOAT debate on a high level like that. But before that, yes, it was, the greatest of all time. We've always heard that with Mike and going into the 60s and then going into the 70s, we heard it was either Bill Russell or Wilt Chamberlain. Going into the 80s, we heard it was Kareem or Wilt. Or going into the 90s, we heard it was Bird or Magic. Going into the 2000s, we heard it was who? Michael Jordan. Going into the 2010s, I think it was mostly Kobe and Jordan, right? Because LeBron really hadn't did nothing. So it's always been some type of GOAT debate, but the foundation wasn't tearing down past eras to make your case. We've heard stuff like, Wilt Chamberlain say, how great he will be in the 90s or the 80s and things like that. But he never tore down player for player and era for era to make his case. We never heard nothing like that until 2018. And the fact is, if you lost in the finals, we didn't look at players, great players, and say their competition was weak. Somebody got hurt. They melted down. We never heard nothing like that. All we heard was Karl Malone lost. He gave a good effort. Or he might have not had a bad series. Magic Johnson, he lost. He might have had a bad series. Larry Bird, he lost. He gave a good effort. Or he had a bad series. Wilt Chamberlain, he lost. He had a good effort. Or he might not have had a good series. But we didn't look at those players as, he did this, he did that, so he couldn't be great. And this is why he lost. This is why this team was greater. We never said nothing like that, folks. All this stuff is made up by the LeBron James fan base in the media. We never tore down competition which these players played against or made an excuse because some player got hurt or something like that. You just got beat. The problem with LeBron James and how they try to defend this guy is sickening. And this made us go back and analyze his career, his performances in certain playoff games, certain NBA finals, right? And it was odd to us because we never did this. If Michael Jordan lost to the Celtics in 86, what did that do? Well, that kind of boosted up his superstardom because he went out like an OG. He scored the all-time points in the playoff game. Like, okay, you lost, but you needed all those great players to beat me. It wasn't, Mike got swept. And when LeBron got swept in 2007, we didn't say, LeBron got swept. So, okay, LeBron got swept. But now we can go back and analyze what happened when he got swept because it ain't really about, to us, if you got swept, it's about your effort. Like Larry Bird, when he had a bad series, he did other things. Passed the ball, rebounded, gave great effort. The shot could, not be going down. That's just how sports is. Maybe you can't make the throw. Maybe you can't hit the ball. You might be off that series. But when we go back and look at LeBron James, and they want to talk about comparing eras, and they want to talk about, competition, what about him? We had to go back and look at his finals. We wasn't saying, he did this at a high level, but he didn't do this at a high level. He was doing this at a high level, but he wasn't doing this. When he put up 22 points in the NBA Finals, it had basically 6 turnovers a game, 35% from the field, what was it, like 20 some percent from the three and 69% from the line? What is that, folks? I don't think any great superstar that had a bad series or what you would call a meltdown had an overall meltdown like that. We never seen that like that. When we go to the 2011 finals, we say we never seen nothing like that from a superstar, even though we just seen that in 2007. We say that because he had a super team. He actually had a better, a better series overall, not points wise, but overall in 2011 than he had in 2011. But nevertheless, he didn't really do nothing at a high level in 2011, right? So we look at 2015, and they will point to his stats. It's the same thing, folks. Turning the ball over at a high level, miserable from the free throw line, shooting under 40%, shooting horrible from the three. So what was he doing at a high level besides stat padding some stats while he was getting blown out? And that's another thing, that he really don't have a competitive nature. And that's been shown throughout his career. And he doesn't care about the other players on his team. You're getting blown out, and it's over. We can talk about 2007 finals. We can talk about 2011. We can talk about 2014 when he was getting blown out by a record margin. Or we can talk about 2018 when he got blown out by a record margin and swept. And what we will talk about is, it's over. You'll get swept in the series, or you just lost in the series, period. And you're out there stat padding to make it look like you gave it your all. No, folks. He should have hopped on the bench, show good sportsmanship, and let other players check in and get points and get playing time and get on the board, because it's over. He doesn't do that, folks. We've seen many times when it was over for Michael Jordan early in his career, he got off the court. You get your brains beat out. There's no reason to stay in there and stat pad. If you're that great and you gave it your all, you should have all your stats right there. You should have the stat pad in a blowout, in a loss, in the waning seconds. And that's what this guy does. He did it then. And he continues to do it. So yeah, they didn't know where to go after 2018 when he got blown out by a record margin again and got swept. So what they needed to do was trying to justify why he should be in the GOAT argument. He was put out the GOAT argument many times. We're not going to say in 2007, okay? Even though we could say it was 2007 because we never seen a superstar meltdown like that, but we could definitely say in 2011 he was out the GOAT debate, and probably forever, because it was back-to-back meltdowns by a superstar, and he had a super team this time. We can say in 2014 he was out the GOAT debate. He got blown out by a record margin with a super team. Okay, we can say in 2015 he lost. Took a 2-1 lead, never won a game after that, and basically was melting down percentage-wise, right? We can say that in 2018 he was out the GOAT debate. I mean, you could just pick any time. In this thing, with his teammates always getting hurt, it's funny to me, folks. Why is his teammates always getting hurt? Whether it was Wade, whether it was Bosh, whether it was Kyrie, whether it was Love. How are these guys always getting hurt in the finals? You just never seen this, folks. I'm not going to say you've never seen it, but you've never seen it consistently from other teams where these players, the star players, are getting hurt consistently. And what that tells you is, when they say Michael Jordan's teammates said he was an a-hole, he was this, he was that, and the way he practiced, this is why he practiced like this. Because if you went through practice, a grueling, grinded out practice, guess what? And you're playing tough defense, you're playing fundamental basketball, and you're doing all this, and you're feeling sore, you're feeling hurt after practice, it's a strong chance you won't get hurt when you get in those big games like that. And if you do get hurt, a lot of times you can play through pain. Not only that, you might not be able to do the things you did at a high level, but you can do other things to help the team out and still stay on the court. Somebody can step up in your spot, and you can just do other things. Michael Jordan got hurt in the finals. Scottie Pippen got hurt in the finals. Dennis Rodman really wasn't himself, and these guys didn't go off the court. They played hurt, and that's why LeBron James teammates always get hurt because they don't practice. He don't play off of fundamentals. His team, they play off of athleticism. So you get all these great guys on one team who are great athletes, and I wouldn't say they don't have fundamentals, but why play off of fundamentals first when you can play off of athleticism because you got all those great athletic players on your team? And it's just strange to me. Who does he get beat by? The most fundamentally sound teams, right? The Spurs, Mavericks were a good fundamentally sound team. Got beat by the Spurs twice. He got beat internationally in the Olympics in the FIBA by plumbers who were fundamentally sound. What about the Golden State Warriors? Fundamentally sound. So we didn't this past eras to see who was the GOAT, who was the greatest of all time. You didn't hear Will and Russell say, "Well, Mike, he played against plumbers. Why should he be the GOAT?" You didn't hear Kareem say, "Well, the '70s it's more athletic." Will and Russell, look who they played against. They didn't play against nobody. Those guys were plumbers. They were taxi cab drivers. They were this. Bird and Magic didn't say, "Oh man, those guys back then, man, they ain't better than the guys in the '80s." Look who Kareem was playing against. No way he's the GOAT. He didn't play against nobody. You didn't hear Michael Jordan say, "Oh, the '90s, these guys are way more athletic than the '80s." Look at Charles Barkley. Look at Karl Malone. Look at Hakeem. Look at David Robinson. Look at Tim Hardaway. Look at Gary Payton. Look at these guys in the '90s. Michael Jordan didn't say, "Oh no, there's no way Bird and Magic could be the GOAT." They didn't play against nobody. You didn't hear other greats who were perceived as the greatest of all time dissing past eras. You didn't hear that. All we knew, or all they knew, was greatness got passed on. Did the game evolve? Of course. That's just part of life, part of nature, evolution. All we knew was greatness got passed to greatness. And that got carried on, and it turned into greatness. And that greatness passed on to greatness, and that greatness carried on to greatness and passed that greatness. The problem was when we got to the 2010s and LeBron was supposed to have the greatness passed to him and he was supposed to carry it on. He couldn't, folks. 2010, he said, "I can't do it. This torch of greatness, I cannot carry it on. I can't carry it on to greatness. I can't do it. It was too difficult what Kobe did. It was too difficult what Shaq and Kobe did. It was too difficult what Jordan did. It was too difficult what Bird and Magic did. It was too difficult what Kareem and Will and Russell and Mike did." That's what LeBron James basically said. This ish is too difficult. I can't do it. I can't do it. I got to let other players show me greatness. We heard in that first take, what was it called? First take with Skip and Stephen A. Smith. The Heat in 2012 were down 3-2 to Boston. And they were going into game 6. And Stephen A. Smith's, his fear was that LeBron was going to lose. And he was beside himself. He was sick of LeBron calling himself the king. He was sick of LeBron tweeting stuff. And he went on a crazy rant, telling, he needed to stop this stuff. And he's just sick of him. That's what he said. And then he proposed that if they lose this series, which he thought they would, that he felt that Wade could no longer teach him how to be a winner, how to be clutch, how to be a leader. So he proposed, and he felt like Dwayne Wade had too many miles on him. Well, the problem was Dwayne Wade wasn't playing his role. He was letting LeBron play the lead role. And it really wasn't happening. And that's why they were down 3-2 to the Boston Celtics. This old mighty Boston Celtics team that had the number one seed one time in the East, and they were together for what, 5, 6 years? Had this super team down 3-2. So Stephen A. Smith continues on to say that he thinks they're going to lose the Heat to the Boston Celtics, in that they trade Wade to LA, I think, along with Bosh, and they get back Kobe Bryant and Pau Gasol. In that he thought if Kobe comes there, there's no greater teacher than Kobe Bryant that will teach LeBron James how to be a winner, how to be clutch, and how to be a leader. Because Kobe Bryant was not only all those things, and he proved he was all those things by going back to back, beating the teams that LeBron couldn't beat, but because he didn't care what anybody said. He didn't care that he was in a big market. He didn't let LA get to him. All the superstardom, Hollywood, all this stuff, he still was on his game. He cared more about practicing. He was trying to, get to that 6th ring. But for LeBron James, Stephen A. Smith said he was mentally weak, and he cared too much about what people said. I just don't know what to say after that, folks. And I put that video up. I mean, that's major damage right there. Now, they did go on to win that series against Boston, against an old Boston team that was broke down, but still. This is the guy that they really want to put in a GOAT debate. This is the guy that, moving further and moving on, Stephen A. Smith would support. This is the guy that Shannon Sharpe and Nick Wright put in some type of GOAT debate by now, in 2018, tearing down Jordan's competition, tearing down the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, player by player, team by team, competition against competition. I mean, Michael Jordan's competition was so weak. He swept through the finals, right? He had one finals opponent that he beat 4-1. Where's all these sweeps at? I didn't see him. If his finals competition was so weak, where's it? How come he didn't sweep no opponents? The problem is LeBron's teams were so weak. They got swept twice. If I'm not mistaken, didn't they get 4-1 twice? With gentlemen swept? No, I think it's only one time they lost 4-1. But nevertheless, with all his super teams, there's just no reason, even if he lost, he should have went to game 7 in all those games. No doubt, folks. And actually, he needed game 7 just to win some of those games, some of those finals. So, folks, what I'm trying to say is that we didn't do that back in the day. Now, were there great players that were just better than other players? Yes. And that's what made these players great. But you can say that in the LeBron era, too. There's great players, and there's average NBA players. And every NBA player that comes into the NBA has a chance to be great. They got picked in the NBA. These are the best of college players, folks. That's what they are. I told you guys, when you're in the NBA, you're playing the best of college players. When you're in college, you're playing the best of high school players. So you had to be great in high school to be in college. You had to be great in college to be in the NBA. So whatever level you was on, whether you was in high school, you had a chance to be amongst the greats of all time in college. Same thing in the NBA. In college, you were great. You went to the NBA. You had a chance. Every player has a chance to be great in the NBA. Now, we all know every player can't be. The great ones will separate themselves through different things to see who's the greatest. And that's it, folks. And I'm just making this video because I just find it sad that LeBron James would allow because it doesn't start with his fans tearing down the NBA and destroying the NBA, because he just didn't destroy the past players in the past eras. He destroyed his era, because now we got to come and rip apart his era. And trust me, it's easier to rip apart his era than it is past eras, because all they did was carry on greatness. We got greatness, the greatest guys of those eras. We got those guys. And they passed the torch to the ones that would carry on the greatness. We can't help it because the torch got passed to this guy and he didn't carry it on. And that's what's so crazy. It's easier to rip apart his era for not carrying on the greatness. And it's not about, as far as being, the greatest of all time. He's not in there because he never was one of those greatest of all time. To me, that was in the top 10. He just wasn't. So now they're trying to figure out a way to put him in that top 10. And they didn't put him in the top 10. They put him all the way to the top. To try to, if we keep him at the top, now we can tear down those past eras. We have an excuse. But there's really no excuse, because his favorite player was Michael Jordan. So if you say Michael Jordan didn't play against no competition and he played in the soft, weak era, what does that say about your greatest player of all time that you think, LeBron James? And how you want to be like Michael Jordan. So you want to be like a guy who played against no competition? How does that make any sense? Nobody will want to do that. Nobody will want to have a GOAT who didn't play against no great competition and played in the soft, weak era, because what would that mean? He couldn't be the greatest of all time. There's no way. The problem is LeBron played against great competition. There's no doubt about that. I mean, now we can tear his competition in his era apart because that's what they want to do. But that ain't what we want to do. We want to, your era and your competition is your competition. When it's your chance to win, now, as you get the torch passed on to you, now it's your chance to show what you got. It wasn't Michael Jordan's chance to win or time to win in the 80s. It wasn't. It wasn't. Now, some guys will win early. It depends on who they got on their team. Kareem won early. But then guess what? He didn't win again for a long time. He won early because of guys he got on his team. Bill Russell won early and basically kept winning because the guys he had on his team. Shaq didn't win early because he didn't have good players on his team until he did. We could say Hakeem had a chance to win, but it wasn't his chance to his time to win because he didn't have the players on his team. But when he had his chance to win, his time to win, I keep saying chance, when he had his time to win, he won. When Michael Jordan had his time to win, he won. LeBron James, in 2007, it was not his time. That was still Tim Duncan's time. When Shaq and Kobe had their time, they won. It was Shaq's time to win. And he had help. So he won. When Kobe had it, when it was his time to win again, and he had help, he won. He won. That's just all. It ain't no two ways around it. When the big three came together in 2008, that was their time to win. They won their first year together. They won. They knew they didn't really have a big window to win because they were old. And the next year showed that. In the next year, 2009, 2010, it showed. They only had a small window. When Dwayne Wade had a chance to win with Shaq, and old Shaq and Gary Payton and old Alonzo Mourning, he had that small window with those guys. So what happened? He won. He won. Michael Jordan's time was not in the 80s. He didn't have the personnel. That wasn't his time. Nobody thought that was his time. Playing the best out of five in the first round against guys that had 3 to 5 Hall of Famers on the team. That wasn't their time. Isaiah Thomas in the Bad Boy Pistons. You think Isaiah's time to win was 82, 83, 84, 80. No, that was not Isaiah's time to win. He wasn't supposed to win. He wasn't supposed to win against the Lakers or the Celtics. His time was at the end of the 80s. 87, 88, 89, 90. That was his time to win. And he won. And then his window closed. Michael Jordan's time was in the 90s. And he won. Ain't no excuses. If you lost, you lost. If you lost, you lost. But if it was your time to win, it was your time. These guys took advantage of their time. Again, LeBron's time wasn't in 2007. So nobody held that against him. No. So when he goes into the 210s, well, we can say in 2009, 2010, that was his chance to win. Whether he won or not against Kobe in the finals, it was his chance. It was his time. Keep getting these words mixed up. It was his time. He was up. That's what the forecast was. Him going to the finals against Kobe. Now, if he lost, but he had a bigger window of time than Kobe. Kobe's time was dwindling down. So he ran to a super team, right? So now we can say that word chance. So he said, I'm going to have a bigger chance to win in my time than any other player. And guess what? That's right. Even though he didn't do it right, he had the biggest chance to win, and it was still his time. And what happened? He lost. He kept losing. He kept losing, folks. And then he went back to Cleveland. He gave himself a bigger chance than anybody to win. By doing what? Making his competition weak. That's what you call weak competition, folks. When you're building super teams and you can just run through the East. He didn't develop players. He didn't get no players through the draft. He said, I'm going to make my chance the biggest of all time when I have this time to win. And he didn't do it, folks. He had an 8-year span, and he had the biggest chance to win out of any superstar of all time. He had a big-ass window, 8 years. And he only came out of that 3-6, folks. We can even say in 2019, 2019, he gets Anthony Davis in the offseason for a bigger chance to win, the best center in the league at that time. What happened, folks? He's been having Anthony Davis since, and only had a bubble championship, folks. That's like Michael Jordan going to get 34? I think he was 34 at the time. Going to get the best center in the league at that time when Michael Jordan was 34. What would be the chances of Michael Jordan winning 3 championships? Maybe 4. Because he would be on the same page with that great center. Even though Michael Jordan wouldn't do such a thing, because win or lose, Michael Jordan wants everything on his back. He wants to lead the team. Right? We've seen that when he went back to Washington. He wanted to put the team on his back. So win or lose, it's on me. Now, we'll know that, his team is sorry, but he took the leadership role of being the leader of the team, taking the most shots and things like that. He didn't want to run to no super team. He wanted to be regarded as the guy that did the most with the less amount of help. At least when he had a chance, when he had his time. Whether you win or lose. So this is what you got now. You have an NBA that nobody watches, nobody cares about, because this guy, LeBron James, the media, and his fans have destroyed the NBA, folks. We can't appreciate past eras. We can't appreciate past competition. And therefore, we can't appreciate this era, because everybody knows if the past eras were trash and the competition was trash, this era can't be too good neither. That means this era is trash. And we know that by the viewership. The fans have spoken. And we know that when we look at other players who are great in this era, they've won without super teams. Your Jokers, Giannis, and probably a player this year. Oh, Curry won twice without a super team. Curry 2 wins or 2 rings without a super team. LeBron 0, folks. How you like that? So, regardless of the style of play that's in this era, it would be somewhat irrelevant to how we looked at this era if we didn't trash past eras. Because what they did, they drove the fans away from past eras. So now you don't have any viewership or any support for this era. Because the fan base, the viewership that does watch this era, they're not supporting it. Because they know it's trash. They just want to feel good about this era. But they don't watch it. They don't support it like that. But they will try to stand up to it. Like it's so great. But they know it ain't, folks. They know it ain't. I mean, this is incredible. But like I said, I mean, if they would not have passed the trash the past eras, we could have just looked at this era for what it was, and we could have been like, okay, cool, let's look at it, and let's watch it. Let's watch these guys play. This is their era. Things have changed, yes, but we can't even do that no more. And this ought to show you how you can't even appreciate this era. You have Joker going for 4 MVPs, and he's not even talked about by the mainstream media. That's what's so crazy about it, bro. They don't even appreciate the era that they talk about. They talk about LeBron James like he's really a part of this era. His career is at the end, folks. His career is signed, sealed, deliver as a loser, a meltdown artist, a choker, a super team builder, very low offensive skill set, poor defense. And for some reason, they're trying to still promote this guy and try to defend something that isn't there, that didn't happen. By now, longevity stats. Instead of, him passing on the torch to the next guy. But we said before, he has no torch to pass on, folks. Joker don't want the torch from him. Giannis don't want the torch from him. SGA don't want the torch from him. None of these guys want the torch from him. And that's what's so bad about this era. There's he can't pass the torch along. The analysts can't talk great about this era. I mean, they could, but they're stuck on this guy. They're not. They don't want greatness to carry on because they know that it didn't get passed on. They got to come to the realization there has to be a gap to where the torch has to be picked up off the ground and get started again. That's just how it goes. It's not like the past eras where the torch was getting passed on and on and on. There was no torch passed on to him. So at one point, like I said, the media is going to have to say somebody's got to pick up the torch that stopped from Kobe Bryant. That's a long ass gap, folks. That's a long gap. That's the reality of this whole thing, man. To get this NBA, back where it used to be as far as, the torch getting passed to the next players. So it has to be something between Giannis, SGA, Luka. I don't know about Anthony Edwards. Some of these guys. Somebody's gonna have to pick up the torch in this era. Who was the greatest player of this era in the 2020s? It looks like it's Joker. I mean, there's nothing consistent about. It's not over. One in 2025. He could get 3 more championships, or he couldn't. Somebody else could get 2-3 championships. We don't know who is the greatest player of this era. But, they keep trying to make it look like LeBron James is the greatest player of the 2020s for some damn reason. It's ludicrous. That would be like Michael Jordan coming back and them saying Michael Jordan is the greatest player of the 2020s. Halfway through it, like 2005, just because he won 1 championship. It would be ludicrous. But other guys be getting MVPs and winning championships, and Michael Jordan has 1 in the 2020s, so he's the greatest player in the 2020s. And them holding on to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan didn't want the game to be like that. He wanted Kobe and Shaq and all these other guys to carry on the greatness. His time was over. But again, like I said, I mean, it's just so hard for what these guys have done to the NBA for this to continue. Greatness can, as long as this guy is in the league, we can't start talking about greatness again. Who's the carrying on the torch or picking up the torch in this era? You know, as long as have no beef with Curry, really had no beef with Durant, but as long as these guys are in the league and they're promoting these guys, like they're still the face of the league. Like these three guys are coaching Joker and SGA and Luca. Like these guys are passing something on to these guys. They're not, folks. These guys are well into their careers. 5 years, 6 years, 10 years. The SGAs, the Jokers, the Lucas. This is their NBA now. It's over for these other guys, man. The NBA, like I said, the media, and you can't leave the NBA out of this neither. Because whatever they want going on in their league, that's what they're gonna have, folks. It's a company, it's a business. So whatever is happening and whatever is being said, comparing other eras and trashing other eras and still promote LeBron James and all these shenanigans, it goes through the NBA first. It don't matter if ESPN bought the rights and stuff like that and Fox Sports. It don't matter. It's still their company. It's about how the NBA wants to look. When the NBA was on NBC, NBC just couldn't say what they wanted to say and do what they wanted to do. No, the NBA wanted to look a certain way. They had a certain impression that they wanted, they wanted to give the fan base, that they wanted to give the world. So that's why the NBA was talked about a certain way on ESPN, NBC. They wanted to make a good impression for the world. When ESPN or NBC or TNT promoted their product. That's why you got to say, what the hell happened to the NBA? What's the impression that they've been wanting to get to the world since the 2010s? By ESPN and Fox and, these fools like this promoting their league. Doesn't make any sense, folks. It's like, who's running this league? I don't know, but I'm gonna get off of here. That's all I'm gonna say. We just did not do that back in the past to say who was the greatest. We just didn't do that, and a lot of times we didn't use stats in things like that. We just knew what these guys did. So if you lived in that era, and you said, and these guys said, "Oh no, Will and Russell was the best." They won't have to bring up stats. Everybody knew what they did. For Kareem, everybody knew what Kareem did. Everybody knew what Bird and Magic did. Everybody knew what Jordan did. What Kobe and Shaq did. Everybody knew. We had to bring up stats. Because if you knew the game, you didn't have to bring up stats. Everything spoke for itself. Greatness, stats came along with greatness. You can't have greatness without great stats. You can't have it. I don't know who this was. I have to look it up, but somebody told me stats is for losers. Oh, was it Belichick? Bill Belichick. And that's right to a degree. Stats are for losers if you're not a winner. Or if you don't go out there and play your heart out and be competitive. Stats are for losers. The LeBron James.